Boobies are very effective patterns throughout the entire year. They come in a wide range of colours and sizes. This is the Coral Booby. It can be tied long-tailed like this, or with a shorter tail for competition use. The buoyant foam eyes can be tied in orange, as here, or in white, yellow, or even black. The first step is to run the tying thread on just behind the eye and build up a nice solid base of tying thread, which will be used to support the eyes. So having caught in the loose end, we trim it off, bring the thread back up slightly closer to the eye. Now the next step is to select a piece of foam dowel which we use for the eyes, and these are worth actually cutting to length in batches before we actually start tying, in order to have eyes of consistent size. So having done that, we offer the foam up to the shank, hold it above the shank, and just take one single turn over just to make sure that we're bang in the middle. So we are there, a couple of tight turns, and then twist the foam so it's sitting at right angles to the shank. Then fix the foam in place with tight figure-8 thread wraps, making sure that you work both sides of the foam so that you fix it firmly in place. Once you're happy that the eyes are fixed nice and firmly with thread, just cast off the tying thread with a couple of turns of a whip finish, and then just trim off that loose end. To shape the eyes, we simply take a pair of sharp scissors and use them to trim off the sharp edges at the end of the foam dowel. Trim both of the eyes so that they're pretty close in size, so that they balance the fly when it's being fished. You don't have to be too precise, but if you don't get the size of the eyes pretty similar, the fly isn't going to fish properly. Just finish off the last of the trimming with tiny little snips. As you can see now, the eyes are pretty symmetrical, and we're ready for the next stage. With the eyes now trimmed to shape, we just run a little drop of super glue in between them and allow it to soak into the thread wraps. Take the tying thread and reattach it to the back of the eyes. Lock that loose end in place and then just trim off, and then carry the thread down in touching turns to a position opposite the barb. The next step is to form the tail, and this comprises a pinch of dyed coral marabou. Now we tear a pinch from the plume, prepare it by trimming away all the broken fibres at the base, and then offer it up to the hook and catch it in at the bend with a couple of turns of thread. With the tail in position, lock it in place with further tight turns of thread, working up to the eyes and then back down the shank again, finishing just at the base of the tail. To create the body, we're going to use a length of pink micro fritz, and in order to prepare it, we take a length and just remove a few of the fibres from one end to leave a bare section of core. This is to ensure that we don't get an unsightly bulge forming at the tail of the fly. So with the fritz prepared, we catch it in at the base of the tail using that bare section of core, just with 2 or 3 turns of thread, and carry the thread on up towards the base of the eyes. Now with the fritz caught in, we take hold at the end and we begin to wind it up along the shank, starting at the base of the tail, stroking those fibres back on each turn. Just carry it on up over the shank, right up to the base of the eyes where the thread is now parked, and catch that loose end in place with a few really nice tight turns of thread. Lock that in place, then take our scissors and just trim off the waste end. To finish off the fly, simply wind a few tight thread turns round the back of the eyes, bring the thread through them up to the eye of the hook, and then simply finish off with a nice secure whip finish, pulling it tight and removing the loose end of the thread. And there you have it, the Coral Booby.